Preparing. Perfect. Are we live everywhere? How is the microphone? Let's open in the browser so we can answer questions. Let's see. No, that's the wrong browser. You know, the topic today, during this month that is proudful, is one that needs to be spoken about the spectrum of LGBTQ and so on. So we can speak on these topics. I told you guys that there's no topic that is above speaking about, and we're gonna speak on all of them, no matter how comfortable and uncomfortable they are or they seem. And that is the reason why. Let me see. Do I have my volume inside my headset? Yeah. That's the reason why we are here today. Let's see. Is it working on the YouTube? Let me check. Let me check real quick. I know I'm live on YouTube too, but I just have to open the comments so that the comments on YouTube are perfect and ready. So how do people do? Let's share. Like the live. Share it to some friends and family so my people can join the live and we can have the conversations that are necessary to be had. You know, I don't know, friends, so people can join. Like the live. Let's see. People who like topics like this, I don't know, your friends and your families. Let people know that we are live, we are ready to mingle. So people can join this live and conversate with me about the topics of same-sex interactions and colonization. It's been a long time. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone watching. Why is this shit so hard to open? So lately, we are in the Pride month. Lately, the conversation of LGBTQ and LGBTQ plus support and so on has been at the forefront of many conversations. And with that said, we are speaking of post-colonial nations, such as many African nations, and their support or their disapproval of the LGBTQ movement. And it is hard for people to fathom why a nation will say, or a group of people will say that we are against LGBTQ movement or same-sex marriage or same-sex interactions. And I, for one, am in a path where I understand why people may claim that they are against or for same-sex marriage or same-sex interaction. But what is important to know that the anti-LGBTQ laws that we have in, if not all, but many African countries are mainly, and I would say that without hesitation, they are created by their former colonial rulers, such as France, Britain, and so on. They are the people who pushed the LGBTQ laws that we have as of anti-sodomy law. If I will put it in more specific terms, anti-sodomy law, sodomy, as the guy would say, the why are you gay guy from Uganda? Anti-sodomy laws were created by former colonial masters. But when it comes to the criminalization of same-sex interaction, that means it becoming a law where you will be prisoned by the country or the police is one is created by the African nations themselves as of recent history. Okay, maybe from 2023 and onwards or up to present date. I remember during the Obama administration, Barack Obama was out there trying to encourage many African nations to accept the LGBTQ movement or same-sex marriage and make it law. And one thing that it is funny to me and many other Africans is when it comes to the normalization and the denormalization of behavior, where prior to modern day, the Westerners claimed that same-sex marriage was forbidden, illegal, and so on. But now you find yourself in a crossroads where the same people are now encouraging Africans to accept same sex marriage. Then here comes the conflict that are Africans rejecting the idea behind the LGBTQ movement just because it is of same sex, or is it because it is pushed, an ideology pushed by their former colonial masters? And Africans are at the point where they say that we will not accept things that are from these people again. You know, one must think, when people, I remember I had this discussion with a customer of mine where he was like, why is it that many African nations are against the LGBTQ movement? And I said, well, as an African myself and someone who have lived in the continent, I will tell you this, that I remember during the times where HIV, AIDS, and other diseases were prominent in many parts of Africa, where I remember in school, beware of HIV, AIDS, and so on, we were taught. And we came to a point where HIV, AIDS was almost eradicated. People had control over disease or STDs. And I asked him if, let's say, many African nations should legitimize LGBTQ or same-sex marriage, and there should be a new outbreak of unknown disease. And there came a time where people were supposed to donate money to help these Africans to cure the disease, be it a new HIV outbreak. Are you going to donate money from your pocket to bolster the what happened to my sound? To bolster a, or what are you going to do to help prevent spread of such disease? And he was dumbfounded in ways that he hadn't thought about it, because as a Westerner, when you push ideologies and agenda upon people, you do it from the lens of the Western person, or a European, but you don't think of the how do I call it, the needs of the African. Why are we forbidding the um, LGBTQ movement within the continent of Africa, or criminalizing the LGBTQ movement? That's why I have the prompts. The third question, which is the one that I most definitely want to talk about, which is, what is your best argument for or against the LGBTQ plus? That's one thing I think many people need to tackle, and we will dive into the history behind many LGBTQ activities, if I might say it, in prior to colonization, if we had as Africans something close to being gay or lesbian. Hello, Mystic. How do you do?
Oh, good Sunday.
Good Sunday
Oh,
indeed.
yeah, you have a new topic. That's how I like it. By the way, I like very variation. Yeah,
Of course, my topics are varied. They vary. They vary from week to week.
yeah,
Almost the
yeah.
same.
And yeah, but this one is a
This
little
is a
bit
hot
unique.
topic. This is hot topic, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So as of I, a person who have lived among Africans, and I witnessed what I will claim, or what Westerners claim to be lesbianism, is this. In many what we call as, what Westerners describe as African spirituality, you find that there are traits, or of what we classify as lesbianism within, at least I would say, my tribe, and I'm saying this openly now, where we see people, especially the women, practice something, or I won't say practice, but behave in ways where you would call it lesbian or gay. Okay, where in many aspects it's only preserved or more prominent in people who are high priestesses, which we call them as Wulame, those who embody the spirits of our ancestors or the nature. Those are the ones that usually practice, yeah, same-sex interactions. But when it comes to gayness, as of man on man, is something that is little or not practiced in the same regard as female on female interactions. So once you ask themselves the question, how did you go from a society where people practice some form of uh, same-sex interactions to it being totally forbidden? Is it one thing you want to touch on? Maybe you share your experiences in the Ethiopian, how do you call it, country of Ethiopia, Mystic?
Yeah, I don't know how. I'm not actually identified as Ethiopian, but it doesn't matter. Uh,
Okay.
the, this idea, I think, um, is mostly, I believe myself, related to the white man concept.
Hmm.
I don't believe even it's natural or it has been performing any race. I believe it may have been in some very small thing like in this case, but I don't believe that this was very like used to be like today.
Hmm.
And I do have history reading about them, like in the Babylon civilization. That's the more popular when you talk about this LGBTQ. Mostly is that in religious space. That's the foundation of the Babylon.
Hmm.
And in that case, we call them from that perspective a sodomy, which is very like insulting and very bad word to even to use for people. Here's the thing: I see this LGBTQ like lesbian, gay, something like that. It's very hard even for those people who speak semantic. Here the
What do you
problem
mean? What do you mean?
in that the language semantic is specific, made every word for women and to man, like everything you see is connected uh, to gender,
Okay,
like
different genders. Everything is okay. Separate genders. Oh, okay. I understand what you're trying
separate,
to say.
like
Hmm.
use like you end the key you to women, car to man. When
Hmm.
you change the definition is themselves into complete, the language becomes unstable,
Okay.
upside down.
Let me ask you a question. What is your, before we continue, what are your standing, your personal standing about the LGBTQ,
I don't support them. I oppose.
and why don't you support the LGBTQ outside of religious claims?
Um, Look, here's the thing. I don't see anything that is benefit for society, for any kind of civilization. I don't see that they may do some what how can I say, like a normal, like a man or woman who married a bring a child and they you know um, grow and contribute to the society in different ways. But in the other side, when I say man, man, one woman, I don't see them any kind of beneficial. I see them like destructive to the system, to the norm, to the culture.
So you don't see that the LGBTQ or same-sex marriage interaction is beneficial to society. That's what you're
I see
saying.
them, yeah, I see them useless in every
Hmm.
aspect of life.
Okay. Do
Uh,
you want to dive deeper
I
into how are they useless?
First of all, they bring this new concept where women and woman, man will have relationship, and the growth of population will collapse.
Okay.
And
Let's say okay, I'm gonna stop you here.
yeah,
Is the concept of a man and a man, a woman and a woman, and new? Is it something new?
yeah, that's new. I see.
Because
It may be.
I beg to differ that it's not something new, and it's not like I'm not here defending anyone, but like when listen, as a man, men will put their penises in anything. Okay, that's across the board. I've seen men go to the swimming pool and put their penises in the how do you call it, those filters that sucks the water. So as so that we know that it's been said men will do those things. Okay, that's for men. So men will fuck anything that moves. Okay, but then you come to the question, since the fact that men will fuck anything, so men will fuck another man just because, and we know throughout history that men used the essaying or fucking other men as a form of how do you call it, control, where if another man, you know, banged you in the ass, it was you losing your manhood. So you've been deprived of what your manhood is. Have you heard of such concept?
Not, I no, I know where you came from. I think that the way you emphasizing
Hmm.
is was like used to be
A way of
like
punishment.
no, no, part of ritual.
What kind of ritual?
It's a religious ritual like paganism, like in different countries
Okay.
throughout age. That's how I saw that they was used to have that kind of relationship, but it was used to glorify their god. That's part of ritual. But when it came to the modern society and the way they like the way they interact, even they behave, the way they behave, it changed. Everything changed. Like um, I feel they been brainwashed. I feel like they are mentally unstable.
Okay. So
In the,
so
in the male side.
so when we claim LGBT, because I know for the majority of European history, being gay was considered a mental illness, was a disease. That was what it was classification in terms of as medical classification, that it was a disease. So do you claim it to be a disease, and is it curable?
I believe it's a disease, and I don't think it can be like medically cured. Because it's more into like do you know the like psychopath? You know
It's like,
the
yeah, 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 yeah.
psychopathy. Psychopath, you cannot change them. You cannot have any kind of medicine. You can change. You may tell them that this is wrong, but they will never change. So
Hmm.
once you become a psychopath, there's no way back.
I understand.
It's kind of that. I see them kind
L-
of that sickness.
let me tell you my standing on this. I, for one, do not support the movement, the LGBTQ movement in Africa. I don't. Or in as of Ghana. Okay. And the reasons to why I don't support it is this. Because I view the LGBTQ movement, it moving or being part of African, let's say, social right or civil right to be a colonial, the intent in which it comes to us is very detrimental to our society. That's how I view it, and I'm saying it that so everyone can hear it. Okay, because there is a world order agenda, a new world order agenda, and it goes under what we know as population control. And for the longest of time, Europeans, and you can see likes like Bill Gates and stuff, have tried to minimize the population of Africans or the world. They say there's too many people, so with that they push agendas that would prevent, the birth of more people. Okay, and the ideology behind there's too many people is foreign to me as an African or someone who is part of the earth, that there's enough space for everyone. We can be 10 billion, 20 billion is enough space, so far as not everyone wants, like, I want a small house with 10 acres, around me. There's space for everybody. Okay, so that's why I don't support, because the ideology behind it is very, very detrimental to society. Two, we have a problem in, I'll say, many countries like Ghana, where essaying, people get essayed by same-sex is prominent, where it happens more frequently, especially what we call the pedophile, where not children but teenagers get sexually assaulted a lot. Okay, which in terms create people who long for same-sex interactions and so on. So when we push these agenda, right, problems that are supposed to be isolated problems become under the umbrella of LGBTQ. Okay, for example, we know people who are born with, let's say, who look like women, who are born with penises or vaginas. or the wrong sexual organ, as they say it. And these people, in my view, should have a different classification. They should be classified under the LGBTQ because they are born that way. They didn't choose to be born that way. So these are the stupidity that and the confusion that this LGBTQ movement brings. Okay, prior to the Obama administration introduction of LGBTQ to many African countries, you could see men holding hands. People could interact with other men without it being viewed as gay and lesbian. Men could hold hands, and that's friendship. Okay, for example, you and I holding hands walking in the street, nothing about it. But now when you see two men holding hands, you start questioning their ability. Like, what are you guys doing? Why are you holding hands? Are you gay or are you straight or what are you? And that is the problem behind why or the reason why I wouldn't support the LGBTQ movement in Africa because it's detrimental to the society and societal norms. Okay, you want to say something?
I think you said good in that point because in many African countries, especially in the Horn of Africa, we use very very with a man. Like we hold hands and we go together like very close. But if I see it like in the European standard, I will say that this guy are gay. Like directly, I will judge them because of the concept that they have built. Uh, the problem is that this is sort of is they change the behavior and the norm and the culture of many African. In Africa, mostly being backed by white, like propagandas about them and to implement in many different African, but they have been rejected many times. They just try and try. So when I see it in generally,
Hmm.
in when you see those individuals, um, they are not they have no ability like to see wrong and right, like they don't see it. They are completely like blinded.
Who can see the difference between wrong and right?
Like I mean those LGBTQ everything they see it is it's like up to you. um, there is no between right and wrong, and they don't depreciate justice and injustice, like in moral, in humanity way.
I don't. I'm trying to understand what you're saying. You're saying people who are gay do not understand the difference between right and wrong?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
That's how I see them.
okay. Well, I for one will say, the notion of right and wrong is one thing that is understood by everyone. Okay. For example, thieves who steal, they understand that stealing is wrong, but they still choose to do it. Okay. So I think people have the understanding of right and wrong, but the people choose to do these things. So when we talk about the LGBT, and this is the reason why we have what we call closet people. People are in the closet because there's a notion that it is wrong being gay in many societies. That's why they choose to be in the closet. That no one should know about my activities, because it is wrong. And if it could be because of religious reasons or social norms, okay, and social norms are shaped by various things. Okay, so I think they understand the difference between right and wrong, but that is the reason why they behave the way they behave. That's why some people hide it, and in societies where it is accepted or more accepted, openly accepted, you see they do it more openly. But you have to understand, and this is the problem with Europeans and this LGBTQ movement. LGBTQ movement became something more accepted recently in Europe, as of recent years, where it became something that everyone, the government, push money behind, or corporate businesses, and it's like doing basically it became a thing during COVID, where people actually pushed and put money behind during COVID. It felt like it developed under the rugs during the COVID times. But then, I for one think the acceptance of LGBTQ is a luxurious problem or it's luxurious things. So that means it is more likely for countries who have zero problems to accept LGBTQ movement as part of society than countries who don't. For example, Ghana, where most people are pure. I mean, poor, where people have to struggle to find food, shelter, and their basic needs. The likelihood of them, accepting these European phenomena are in many, zero to none because it doesn't benefit them. You know, but if people had their shit together, the government had their shit together, I think it would have been more accepted, And the funny part of it, in many African societies, if you ask any African, they'll tell you, "I know someone who is gay or who does things that they shouldn't be doing." If one will put it that way, everyone knows someone, but it's like it wasn't. You didn't went out killing them, as it is being pushed as of recent days that, oh, you killed them because that's what they did. It was against God because the notion of God is also foreign to many Africans. So if you make the argument that it's not the will of God, but what of the people who do not believe in their God? Why do I have to follow a will or the will of a God in which I don't believe in? You see what I'm saying, Mystic?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think people who, let's say, are atheists or choose not to believe in Jesus Christ or Allah, are they exempt from LGBTQ punishments, or I think they should be punished alongside everyone or judged?
Look, I'm not go deep into that, especially in the Islamic belief. They are almost predestined to uh, die.
Mhm.
There is no negotiation. There is a like immediate action.
Mhm.
But in the Christian world, it has maybe been for many years, but right now there is nobody. They are not a part of it. They are already excluded. Once they are excluded, they cannot be punished. They cannot be taken into action. They cannot do anything. But so they are out of the system. That's how from my own experience from my country. When a person there is behaving some sodomy, something like that, the the church administration take action, and he's already banned not to enter anymore in
So
any church that is administered by that state.
okay, so once you are caught being gay, you are
You
prohibited
are,
from participating in the church.
yeah, yeah, you are like a non-existence,
Mm, mm,
but you are not being taken action or harmed physically.
mm. Okay, okay, I
Yeah,
understand. No, no, but that's the same way in many African countries. You have to understand that. And I always tell people that anti-colonial law, I know anti-colonial law made or colonial law, colonial rule made homosexuality illegal in many, if not all, colonized countries. That's what happened. Europeans wrote the law that many African nations follow today. So when people say Africans are against, I mean, Europeans made those laws against same-sex marriage and same-sex everything. They wrote the law, the rule book. So it's like now you want to change that, but it's more of like how do you go about changing the law that have existed in so long? Mind you, all forms of law within the post-colonial playbook is still present. In court systems in Ghana, you find that the we follow the same ruling that was implemented 200-300 years ago by the colonial masters. And with that said, came the anti-LGBTQ law, not but anti-sodomy law. Those laws have existed for so long. So then, if one is advocating for human rights, because and that's the new word that is being flung around, that the right to be gay is a human right. Okay,
that's
by
not
Western,
right. That's not
by
right.
Western countries. Then I ask myself this: if it is a human right, why is it that when people are being killed in the Philistines, in Congo, in the Burkina Bay, in other places, why is it that people are not as vocal about it then? Because we are talking about human rights, and humans are humans regardless of where they come from, who they are, what they do. So that is why it is hard for me to to governance myself around the umbrella of the LGBTQ law because of the people who push the agenda, that they are biased in the way that they push the agenda, that if you claim it to be human right, then you do things that are worthy of such human right. Okay, so do you view? Okay, I saw your Scott. I saw your request. I don't know why it was cancelled.
Yeah, look,
Let me see.
the
Do you
the
think
ant
the right to be uh, gay is a
no
human right?
no, there's no human right. It should be
Hello, Scott.
the opposite. Oh my God. Hello.
I'm gonna mute you for a second, Scott, just so that he can.
Sorry. Uh, I think that it's not the opposite of human right. It's like there's nothing to say about the human right about this to begin with. Look, the anti-sodomy law you said
Hmm.
is mostly related to the Christian perspective, and there is also verses explicitly says every like every the the wickedness of all sin says the wickedness of all sin murderous sodomy is like put into like murderous, it's like one of the highest wickedness of all sin is like sodomy and murders and so on, like it's a part of the category.
Hmm.
So basically, this anti-sodomy wasn't like made by any white. Like it was like the Christian perspective. It has been made for hundreds of years, and that what existed. But now it's not applicable. It's not like the like too extreme like the Muslim do. The, the concept that human right, they are not like seeking like a shelter. They are not like in taro. They are not like in in psycho in physically harm condition. Even the psychology itself of human right, when you put them into the category of human right, there is no foundation to begin with.
Hmm.
The concept itself.
So you
It's
say
it's
they
flawed.
have
It's
no
flawed.
foundation to be classified as a human right to be gay.
Yeah. It's a flawed to begin with. There is no foundation at
Okay.
all.
What are on Hello, Scott? What are your thoughts on it? That is the LGBTQ a human right? I don't know if you should unmute yourself if you're okay. I have to ever invite you to unmute. I don't know. Scott, can you hear me, Scott?
Yeah.
And
Morning.
people
How you
hearing
doing
from,
today?
I'm fine, I'm fine. You and people in the chat
I'm
and on YouTube. Do you guys believe that the right to be gay is a human right?
oh yeah, of course. It's
Why?
not just a human right, it's a natural um condition within not just humans. It's I believe there's like 500 species on the planet that partake in same-sex coupling. So um it's a natural thing. It's not an unnatural thing that exists only within humans. It's uh, my people have existed here and with this ideology for 13,000 years. They have persecuted us for even thinking that these things are allowable. You know, the colonizers have persecuted us and kind of erased our culture because we accepted it. Lots of First Nations people do.
But
So it's a naturally occurring thing. It has been since it's been a recorded thing since the days of Alexander the Great. Um, the only reason why people have looked so far down on it for so long is that it's uncomfortable for them.
in terms of, as far as you are concerned, do you have any recollection or do you know of some aspects of the LGBTQ being practiced in within your people or your nations?
Within our people, well, we live in a way that identifies the human uh, portion of our existence and the spiritual existence, the body and the spirit. Um, Spiritually, the body's gonna be attracted to whatever it's attracted to, and the spirit is going to identify with or contribute to that as well. Um, so if you have like really what we believe in five genders, um,
Five genders.
yeah.
What are those five genders?
Well, again, it's the body and spirit, right? So if you're a straight person, you have the body of a male
Hmm.
and the spirit of a straight male. Okay, then you're going to be attracted to women. If you are a straight woman, you have the body of a woman and the spirit of a straight woman. So she's going to be attracted to males. Sorry, I'm pacing us around in the backyard.
Yeah, because
Um,
what you're explaining is very similar to what I know in many African tribes that has been practiced actually.
well, yeah,
Uh,
that's the natural way. So
so
if you're a gay person and you are a male and your spirit is attracted to other males, well, that's that's number three. Okay, that's gender number three. If you're a woman who is gay, who clearly has a body of a gay person or a gay woman, and is attracted to other women, your spirit attracts you to other women, then so be it. That's what you are. And then of course there's the transgender, and I'm not really. It gets a little complicated with that one, but that's the fifth one.
yeah, yeah, one thing that I think is more problematic. I think one thing that is more problematic about the anti-LGBTQness in many post-colonial countries or nations is the fact that LGBTQ, how do you call it, puts things in bracket, put things in labels in nations where you didn't have labels for such things. So,
Needs
oh,
to identify. Yep.
yeah, you had to identify with something, and that's what creates the problem. Because as far as I can remember growing up, I knew people who were doing these things, but we didn't necessarily classify as gay or lesbian. It's more of like I knew of a person who had sex or did things with other women. That's what it
Yep.
was.
Yep.
But then comes the
Yeah.
classification that you are gay, you are straight, you are this. And I think that is the reason why the activism in many nations are here to ban those things. And I understand why people do it, and I support people who the nations like Ghana that actually are putting out laws to actually ban these LGBTQ activism because it is colonial in ways that it is practiced in the Western world and is detrimental to our society. So here I will say it, and I don't care if I should lose friends or family and so on, but that is the truth, and that is the whole truth. Let's greet Red to the panel. Hello, Red.
Yo, what's good?
Yeah, we're fine, and you?
What is your best argument for against the LGBTQ plus? Um, I think we need to start treating them like mentally ill people and stop coddling them and letting them get their way
Okay. So
because
so so
that's
so,
not.
so I understand. I understand. That's the aspect of treatment. But what is your best argument against the LGBTQ movement? Against it, your argument, because I want to see something.
It is my argument against the community.
Yeah, but you speaking on treatment. Why? Okay, why is let's say the LGBTQ bad for your society or your country?
I mean, because they're pushing pseudoscience and trying to take away a woman's identity, well, gender identity from just people in general, but especially the woman. It's a lot of rainbow men that are very adamant on that, and they have allies from just straight people that just let them say what they want to say, and women that's nurturing and being allies to their cause. So yeah, that's my argument against that.
So what you're
They're
saying
trying to
is that
take on the women's identity
okay,
by
because
saying, "Go ahead."
s- sorry, you are explaining the same thing I was going to say. So go ahead.
Yeah, so by saying stuff like um, women are cis females instead of just calling them women, that lets me know that you're trying to change the identity of what a woman is, um, and that can be very harmful because we know the truth. We know that we're not built the same. Um, you're gonna fall in line whether you like it or not naturally. If you're a woman or a man,
Mm,
you're gonna do that shit naturally.
mm.
It's biology. You can't change that. But
With
yeah,
that said,
that shit
I
is
do
harmful.
agree with you on that one. The fact that the LGBTQ movement is going against what is, call it, more normal then, because you claim it is normal, but what is natural? Then if it's normal, then we have natural, like what nature intended to be. That the fact that people are robbing women and we are living this um, illusion of that men can bear children. And that is one thing that I think is fairly dangerous, that we are indoctrinating our children that are male, that as a man you can get pregnant. And I'm like, that's not possible. And that is why more and more parents are going against this LGBTQ movement, just because of the way it frames things. That it is very, it's a rock is a rock, but they'll tell you no, a rock can also be a sand, and so on, and what it is. But we have to stop lying to our children.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, that's good.
for me, that's where I draw the line. The fact that we are lying to children, we are breeding our children for failure.
No, no, don't try to draw the line then. Don't try to draw the line now. When it comes to children, you should. I think people should have been spoke up. Like y'all should have been spoke up when they was trying to when they was doing all these things. They was trying to when we had grown men, trans women, trying to get into women's sports, and they actually got in there and dominate. That's when y'all should have spoke up. But nah, now that they're trying to um, teach, they want this in schools now. They're advocating for this to be in schools.
As a person who studies sports science, and we're gonna have the debate of science and gender. I mean, sports and gender. A person who studies sports science, where I moved from Africa, right, Ghana to Europe, and all of a sudden, when I played football with people, and I'm saying soccer as Americans have it, I was automatically better than people, physically, because I was stronger, I was faster. I wasn't the most skilled, but my advantage was strength and speed. All of a sudden, I was dominating that field. Okay, so then we speak of men who identify as women, then go into sports and then claim they are women, competing with biological women. I don't even use the word biological, and dominating. So the question I'm asking, that should it be allowed? So we can move down the panel.
No, no, it shouldn't be allowed. We got examples of men going into women's sports and dominating. We have an example of a man going into a woman's prison and getting women pregnant. Now, if we was to let them have their way and let men that think they're a woman or want to be a woman go into these women's spaces as men, we are the stronger vessel, so we're gonna dominate in all those areas that women are in. So then, where that leaves the women,
That's
what
a
are
great
they gonna do
that's a
if
great
they're gonna?
question.
I think that's one is a good example because that has been a very hot discussion in United States, where a male claimed to be a woman and sent to the women's prison and then end up pregnating a lot of women.
I would do the same shit.
Ye- Yep. No punishment.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course, because a women's
I ain't
prison
wasting
is
no.
soft. Of course, if I'm going to prison for 10 years, I'd rather go to a women's prison. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I will father all the children in that prison, and I understand why men do it because it's funny, but it's a loophole. And I think men, it is within our nature to destroy. So if we put because and I always tell people I have a lot of friends who are pro LGBT, but I tell them that a man's nature is to destroy. So you bringing a man into space, you're thinking that's progressive. Nah, that's you begging for trouble. You know,
That's you begging to get weeded out, trying to
yeah,
get
that's you
space.
begging for trouble. Trust we men will come, we will destroy them, we will move on to the next thing, and that is
it,
our nature.
it actually happened, and then the police they rewrite their history and they bring him out and they put in the male prison. But it had happened in many states, by the way, United States and maybe in Europe also. But the concept of this LGBTQ and feminism, I don't see them different. I see them exactly the same because they all claim a separate entity, but they claim their ideology is the same. Dominate the like become like more superior than man and have all of the abilities that man have and replace them and then uh, try to be the dominator of the whole world. But in biologically speaking, they cannot do that. They cannot, in reality, they can't. If a man's working like the 12 hours per day in very highly difficult work like metals or any industries, women can do that. Even if they try, they will maybe end up sick in 3 4 days. So I don't see this LGBTQ and feminism differences. They're all the same and just try to undermine the manhood.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I feel like, is this happening anywhere else besides America?
Oh yeah, that's why we're having this
All over the
debate.
world.
That's why we're having
Yeah.
this discussion. Because it's become the philosophy behind the LGBTQ movement, as I put it, is very detrimental to society. That's the philosophy part of it. And especially where they are grooming children to be in this illusion that the world is a jungle, you know and it's about the survival of the fittest. And if we don't treat it as such, we don't treat and teach our children, especially people who have been colonized, that this world is about survival, our children are going to be weeded out. And that's what they are doing, weeding out the children, one child at a time.
Mm, yeah. I don't understand why like people are even entertaining this stuff. I don't understand it. I think women are probably using them to dismantle the patriarchy because they want the power. I don't know
You, you
what
know,
is the end goal. Is the end goal just complete chaos?
you know,
Everybody can do everybody can be whatever they want to be and just do whatever they fuck they want to do. Like I
Is,
think
is, isn't that the goal?
no, it should have some type of order, some type of structure.
Sure,
And it shouldn't be the foundation shouldn't be based off lies.
but should we discriminate because of the comfort of others?
Should we discriminate for the what you mean?
Well, if you look in Russia, there is a large uh, discomfort with the idea and ideologies of the LGBTQ communities, so much so that they've outlawed their existence. Is that a
It's
solution?
not discomfort on our part.
Well,
They
it's discomfort on the government's portion.
No, it's not discomfort on that part. From America, from that community, they have thrown the first stone by forcing their
Ooh,
belief systems on other people, and then
okay.
lying about the things that they believe in, and then on top,
Well,
like, for you can't force. Why do you want to force yourself into women's spaces and force your ideology on our children? That's what we say. We fucking draw the line. You can't do that shit. Now you taking it too far. Now you being destructive. They will
right.
people was being nice
I'm
because they
thinking.
felt sorry for you. They felt sorry. Like, if somebody has autism and somebody
Well,
is,
it's not because they feel sorry. It's because they hate you. They hate the person, that the gay person, the lesbian. They hate because they don't understand, and the conversations like this, when they're had, uh, they can usually stave off the hate with logic if people are subjective to that. But I see them existing throughout history, and it has only become more prevalent as the human population has grown.
well, what do you think the end goal is? Like, now we at a point in present time where we're nurturing these type people. Like, I think for a long time those type people was rejected and hated and still are hated to this day. But more and more people are saying it's acceptable. So, and now we're saying it's acceptable. Now they're trying to take over.
Well, I don't think that's possible, but my area of study has always been animal behavior, wildlife behavior, and my employment and my studies have always been geared towards those things. So I have studied the fact that these things happen in nature within other species, not just humans. So is that a natural state?
No, it's not natural. It's unnatural. It's unnaturally natural.
Are you a religious person?
No, I'm not. It's not. I say it's not natural because that's not how men and women are designed to be. We have the conscious to make our own choices,
Are
and
dolphins designed that way? Are
no,
monkeys?
no,
Because both of those species partake in same-sex coupling.
it's still not supposed to happen. If everybody was like that, then why would it be a such thing as a woman to give birth? And why would the man have the instincts to want to breed with that woman? That should let you know the
They don't.
foundation of that
But, but
is
unless they
supposed to
don't,
happen between a man and a woman.
Sup- supposed to, should, would, these, it's but it doesn't always happen, is what I'm saying. And
I
there
know it
are
doesn't
other
always happen. That don't make
there
it
are
right.
people there are people who prefer the same sex because that's what their brain chemistry is telling them to do. That
Your
is what
brain
the dolphin's
chemistry is
that's what the
wrong.
dolphin brain's chemistry is telling it to do. That's what the monkey's
But
chemistry is
it's
telling
a
it to
lot
do.
of it's a lot of different types of brain chemistries that tell you something that you're not supposed to be doing.
Even some brains can also tells you
Like,
to
it's some
go
people
Guys,
who,
hold on.
listen,
Just
this is
speak
what they
speak
do.
one at a time,
They
please. One
start
at a time.
cutting themselves. Is your brain chemistry telling you to unalive yourself?
yeah,
Is
yeah.
Is that the correct thing to think? No, that's not how your brain's supposed to work.
mm,
You know,
Your dick was made to go inside a vagina.
I want to say something, Scott. I want to ask you this. You know, we've come to a portion of society where people are here claiming they identify as something which they are not either physically, what they claim or mentally what they claim.
Yeah.
So someone
Yeah.
saying I identify as a cat. What are your opinions or your views on identifying as whatever?
Identifying as a cat, that's a mental illness. You
Okay.
know,
Now that's
throughout
a mental
history,
illness.
No, no.
throughout history, has any man ever been a cat? Any woman ever been a cat? Could they
Has
identify as a cat
throughout
and
history, has
still
any
been
woman ever been a man?
throughout history? Has any lesbian ever been uh, with a woman?
Yeah.
Yeah, lots, right? Um,
That you didn't answer my question though.
okay, yeah, ask it again.
Has any woman ever been a man?
Has any woman ever been a man, or vice versa? No, no.
Okay then. I'm not saying y'all. They can do whatever they want. Just don't push your ideologies on the kids and don't invade women's spaces. And we cool. I don't care about none of that. Um,
So what do
actually,
you say?
I would take it a step further, but I'm a nice guy.
What would you say to a 13-year-old child in, I'm going to imagine, assume that you're in the States somewhere.
Hmm.
Okay, so if your child came up to you and said that, you know, he feels like he's more of a girl on the inside, and he wants to throw, maybe he's like 10, 12, whatever, and he's starting to look at boys and realize that maybe he's more attracted to boys than he is to girls. As time goes by, and he's now 18 years old, he's still attracted to boys. He's not really attracted to girls, and he's thinking, I there's something not right with my body. My spirit does not match with my equipment, and he's confused. He's scared. He's all these things. Should he be villainized for feeling this way, or for uh, you know,
No, I'm not saying no,
having those attractions or having those feelings? Can that be
no.
programmed out of them? Because that's been tried.
Well, shit. I gotta be a brain chemist. So I gotta know how the brain works to untrain it. I don't even think you can untrain it. Because
No.
if you
Could
could,
I could I
it's
could I
probably could.
untra-
It's probably would
could,
have been done already.
You can
could I
untrain it.
untrain you from chasing around big booty Latinas? You know, could I train that out of you?
No, you couldn't.
No, hell no, right? So
Pig put it
all
the
I'm
same.
saying is that the LGBTQ community, or how my people call it, the two spirited people, um, are they allowed to exist? Is basically what the question is.
Are they allowed to exist? That's a hard question.
Can they exist in peace with others? Like, are they violent people? Are they just looking for the right to love whoever
It
they want to love?
depends. It depends. Are your people a disease?
Okay, I want
Are
to
they
I
gonna
want to
make
say something.
babies?
Hold on,
Can
hold
they
on,
make babies?
hold on. Whoever
Listen.
joined. Wait.
Is
Whoever.
that is that a good or a bad thing though?
Ho,
If they
I
can't,
just asked a question and you muted me.
No, ignore him.
hold on
Nigga,
for a second.
fuck you.
Listen,
I
Here we
hate
go.
that.
Jag.
Fuck you, nigga. Fuck is
Okay,
you
I hate
talking
that
about?
word.
okay, fuck that
Thank
man, man.
you.
Fuck
Now
that man.
answer my. You said are they allowed to exist? And I'm gonna ask you a question, then I answer
Ignorant
yours.
Americans. God
If
damn.
they are, well, I'm just gonna say this: if they are a disease, and by disease I mean like trying to force their way onto straight people and children and take
I don't.
over women's spaces, then no. If they are not, then yes.
You know.
Would it be better if they just had their own leagues that they can compete in, their own, like
Why
a
do you
Special
need your own?
Olympics,
Why do they
or
need their own leagues?
why not? It's obviously they're not wanted in the straight person's league, so
No, we
would it?
don't care. We got to a point. We got to a point where straight people do not care no more. We don't care.
It doesn't affect
And
them, right? They're straight.
yeah, it doesn't affect us, so we don't care. We just tell y'all to no, you can't go. We don't want you to compete in women's sports and vice versa. Women, we don't want you competing in men's sports. That's what we tell y'all. We don't want you in the bathrooms. We don't want y'all switching bathrooms. Um,
I can try to answer
so
that.
why do you want your own league and own space? Is it because
First,
it makes you feel better
Probably for safety.
for
Mystic,
safety?
Mystic, want to say something?
yeah, look, the question, either they made this or not, is um, ca- I think there is a lot of noise background. I don't know who's making it.
Okay, I think it's Scott. If you can mute yourself
Yeah.
for a second, Scott, so that
Sorry,
Um,
I'm standing in my backyard with the dogs and the birds. I apologize.
no worries.
sorry.
I think
Okay. So look, I believe if as long as they are interfering with our daily life, sports, families, converting children into it, and advocating this across all society, then they may not exist. But if they have their own like nation, every gays and LGBT community live their own in that nation. They may exist. I don't care about them anymore. They can that they can have a lot of fun there. They can do whatever they want. But if long as they are on my own society and interfere in all this problematic, all changing the norms, the culture, the societies, then the end is very horrible.
to answer the question is this. I think the ideology, the philosophy behind the clarification of what LGBTQ and how it fits in society is actually more confusing than clarifying. Because it is being pushed as something to replace something new and something modern. You know, and for me, I stand confused about the fact that is it a false notion that every single person who existed or do exist in this world were created by a man and a woman? Is that true or false? You know, and those are the questions that we have to answer before we move forward. Because I, for one, am at the perception that the LGBTQ philosophy is more about, listen, you being whatever you are, you can still have children, where people are so delusional. And I'm like, how is that going to help our children? And that's where I actually draw the line from where people do not speak truth anymore. And for me, people who lie, I hate them. I hate people who lie, and it's the same way I will classify it as a nation of Israel. Where present lie as truth. Or people who believe their own lie more specifically. Those people are very dangerous to society and very detrimental to society because they believe their own lie. Where people can sit down and claim that you have two legs, but then claim that no, I have three legs. But there is no way you can prove that you have three legs. That ideology is very dangerous. And if that is what the LGBTQ plus movement or the civil rights movement is about, then I'm against because it's not embedded in truth. It's embedded in falsehood. And that's where I'm gonna rest my case as of the subject of what Scott asked, so that we can move on. Unless anyone wants to say something about. Uh,
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement. I don't really unless okay. I was with my ex fiance about 20 years ago.
ooh,
She took me to a gay bar.
hold on, let me
Um,
verify the live.
oh, Red took off. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think he might be
Um,
back. Yeah, I'm
okay,
listening.
so she took me to this gay bar,
Uh-huh.
and I'm thinking, oh, we're gonna go and things are gonna get weird, but she's gonna go pick up some girl and bring her home, and we're gonna have a good time. Not the case. I got my ass grabbed more times that night than I ever really wanted to, and it was actually rather enlightening because it showed me a world of what it's like to be a woman.
Mm.
You
I
know,
know that
I'm
feeling.
I'm all of a sudden being accosted by men who are grabby, who are forward, who are intent on their goal with something they're attracted to. I'm a handsome dude, but I don't swing that way, so it's a lot of being on guard and feeling fearful and all those things. So it's it's enlightening for me to think of it that way. I'm an insightful person and I like to think about things like that. Um, but it's it's super enlightening. I don't think it's a problem because they're being the person they want to be. Oops, guys, quiet.
I think it's a
Um,
problem.
you do, yeah.
I think it's a problem because, when you go to a gay bar, or you are in spaces, let's say in a club where there are men and women, the notion that everyone is gay is funny to me because usually you should ask, even if you are uh, grabbing a woman, like it used to be in the. I remember when you go to the club in the olden days, back in the days when you saw a woman you liked, you spoke to someone. Oh, I want you to send a drink to that person. You introduce yourself first. But these people, when I say these people with intent, they go straight to the end game, grab some ass to make their intention known. There's no good morning, good afternoon, nothing. So I'm like, what happened to you? Normal human decency where you went through, let's say, introduction. Hey, this is me. Oh, are you like that or not? Even when I approach women, you check whether that woman is married, has a boyfriend before you approach. So why is that gay men feel like, because I've experienced the same thing. My friend was caged. Feel like you should escape or skip rather those steps and go straight to grabbing some ass. You know, A- and for me, I think it's problematic, and that is the reason why sometimes I find that there is some kind of agenda to create new gay people. You know, and the reason why I say it in that way is like people put out this rhetoric like, oh, you don't know until you've tried whether you're gay or not. And I think
Have any of you have any of you ever tried to pick up on a girl who was a lesbian?
um, I think I have, but I didn't know she was a lesbian.
Right. There was no interest there, right? She didn't want anything to do with you, and you're a handsome dude, so I would imagine that there would be at least somewhat of an interest if she was swinging that way,
It could be, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So it's when you're saying that they're trying to create more, I
Yeah.
I don't agree
Okay.
with that so
Okay.
much because I think it's I think it's much more complicated than that.
Okay.
This is a natural
I,
state of which they're born and their brains are
okay.
telling them
Okay.
once they reach puberty
Okay.
that they're attracted to a certain type of person.
I'm gonna disclose something. Uh, you know, when I was 18, I created the hub, the hub account. Is it yellow or is it orange and then black?
The corn
Pornhub.
hub.
Yeah, Cornhub. Yeah, that's one. I created an account. Yes, I was 18. I actually waited till I was 18. Actually, I remember that because the day I turned 18, I created an account. So because then I could comment and everything. I did just because I could comment. Look how nice as a kid I was. So so I did that, and then I started meeting people who, had interests in, let's say, same sex or gay men. Then there was this perspective where some people will, although I'm telling them straight, but it's like, oh, I like to how to mess around with straight men. And then I ask myself the question, why do you like to mess around with straight men, specifically straight men, people that are or can be dangerous to you? Why is it that you specifically want to be messing around with those men? And it's more of like, the danger aspect, the adrenaline rush around that, to be, some will say, I want to be taken by a real man. And I'm like, what happened to being with your own? You know, it's like, is it something wrong about being with other gay people? Or why is it specifically you want to take home someone and, introduce them to something new, if it makes sense? Why is it like, I hope there was a gay person here that could answer those questions, like, why do you feel the notion to introduce them to a whole new world, of gayness and so on? It's like, that's what I want to, understand, why people want to introduce others into their uh, worldview and so on, if it's not about creating new or more gay people, because that's how I see it. you know and the same goes with same sex, the opposite, heterosexual men, where men who knows, like, they don't find a certain group of people attractive or shouldn't be with them, but yet again they seek those people and create problems that shouldn't be created in the first place. Let's say people who are of a certain religion, instead of going to people who are in your same religion as you find them trying to convert more people. Let's say you're a Muslim. Instead of dating other Muslim, you want to find a Christian or a non-believer and then make them a believer, to find, like, I hope, or I think that it gives you the notion of you have accomplished something, and which I think it's wrong. You should go where you're loved, where it's easy, not to take it as a challenge. But have any of you experienced that?
I've never experienced a gay person trying to. Well, no,
Convert
that's not true. That's not true because yeah, I used to hang out with a bunch of lesbians, and they would always try to turn the straight girls.
to do
That
what
was
to them?
always a thing. That was always a thing. Yeah, no, they. I used to have this friend. She was lesbian, but like we were good friends, and we would always go to the bar and try to hit on the same girl to see which way they would go. She would win sometimes. I would win sometimes, but um, it was yeah. I guess that was kind of a thing. I never really thought about it like that. Um, I can't imagine the success rate being something that would make that effort to be like a consistent thing because it's I would imagine it's a losing battle trying to turn straight people gay. It's not really. I can't see a large success rate with that.
It is, people are successful in many ways than none. That is why in the United States and other places you find trans people to be assaulted all the time. And I have people who identify as such, and I always tell them this, that, in life, you shouldn't put yourself in places or in situations where it's most likely to be harmful to you. The same way you don't see me roaming with people who are anti-African. Who I know
Yeah,
they hate black
yeah,
people.
yeah.
But then I find people, especially with the trans gender, like, okay, you are transgender, but then you don't disclose it when you meet people. Then when people find out and they're offended, all of a sudden you're like, oh, you are homophobic or whatever phobia you claim them to have. But if you did disclose it in the beginning, you wouldn't have the problem to begin with. So then I tell people that, listen, why do you make your life hard? You know, to go to places where they don't like you, but you want them to accept you as what you are. You know, and
Are those a lot of these uh, fear-based
in-
uh, kind of
interactions.
conclusions?
Yeah.
Yeah, they they all stem from the same place, right? It's all fear. Everyone's Russia is outlawing uh, gay people because of fear. They're be it cultural, religious, what have you.
Mm.
It's fear that has driven them this far to legislate the existence of gay people.
Will you say it's
Um,
only fear, or there's a hint of common sense involved to
no,
why?
I would say it's definitely fear. The same way, like when you were saying you wouldn't hang out in circles of people who are anti-black,
Mhm,
like you wouldn't go hang out with the KKK or anything like that, right? Because
obviously.
it's you're putting yourself into a dangerous position.
Mhm.
However, if you were to have a one-on-one with a Ku Klux Klan member, would you be trying to convince him that you're not someone that needs to be feared the way he fears you? Would you educate him in a way that would maybe change his hateful mindset towards you?
Not necessarily. I won't, because I always say this: when people hate you out of fear of whatever, the fact that I have to convince them, they always remain unconvinced. And the reason why I say that they remain unconvinced is because I had to do the convincing. If they are not able to see that a person who, let's say, lives in Africa is not of danger to them, then they are faulty as people, as a person, you know. So I'm not gonna convince you that I am not dangerous to you because I don't need anything from you. But if I should benefit from that convincing, yes, I will do it. But if I have no benefit, then I won't do it. You know. But with that said, when it comes to the people convincing people to begin Russia being anti-LGBTQ. I think it brings a notion. You have to understand, Russia and the West are at war, and they are at what we call ideology war. Russia hates the ideology of the West, and the West hate the ideology of the Russians or the USSR. Okay, the Soviet
Yeah.
Union. Okay.
Yep.
So, for many people who are not in the West, for us, the LGBTQ movement is a Western ideology, and we ban it because it is detrimental to our society. We ban it because when we see Westerners identify as cats, saying they don't use the proper grammar that we know, identify as a they, them, or ze, or zer, or whatever they are saying, people see that this is stupid. Now this is getting out of hand. Let us stop this nonsense before it comes to us. Let's stop this disease because something. So people ban it because of what they see. Because in there is a how do you call it, a proverb that seeing is believing. So people are seeing the stupidity. I want to prevent the stupidity from coming to my shores, and I think that's what it's more about. That I want to prevent this stupidity from coming to my country. And I would do the same because for me, I view the LGBTQ movement as an African, as part of the Western European um, population control. That they are pushing this agenda as they are pushing this way to this degree, where you have corporate businesses backing it, you know, to be a way to make money and other things. Yeah,
See,
what
I,
happened?
I see that not as a governmental thing, but more of as a nature thing. Nature is doing these things.
But if
Nature is taking its place here by providing people with the uh, preference of gay because of our populations being so big, because of our consumption rates, because of our it is a natural way for a population to slow its growth.
so, when it came to the fact that many societies, as I say, yours and mine, they practice some sort of same-sex interactions. There is never in the history of our people where we went out encouraging other people to practice same-sex interactions,
Oh,
right?
yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
never been that way.
but
Yeah.
but we've come to a point in history where it's been pushed and shoved in the face of people. where Obama will go to Africa, to Uganda, and say, "You people must support or accept gays and lesbians." And people are like, "Oh, who are you to tell me what to do?" And I think, in especially as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to Ghana, is that people are the nation, the country is banning or making gayness a criminal law or criminal because of how Europeans are pushing the agenda. Prior to that, being gay was not was not there was no law that criminalized being gay. So pushing, yes, pushing anti-colonial LGBTQ systems or law made it actually push people to create laws against it. So that was the gain. So kudos to Obama for making it illegal.
Yeah, the but your country always had them, right? Even before Obama,
We didn't have
those
criminal
those
law against LGBTQ.
no, the people themselves,
The
the
people in
gays,
themselves,
the
yes,
lesbians.
yes, we've had
Yes,
people, yes,
Russia
among
still
it,
has them.
yes.
Yes, yep. Okay, so what my point is that it's it's almost like it's a pushback against nature,
No,
where
okay.
they are these people exist, and because they exist, the fear of uh, whatever it is that people fear about them grows, and solutions by people in power push the agenda forward or backwards.
Listen, one thing I understand, and I've understood what democracy is or governing is to perform the will of the people. And if the will of the people is anti-LGBTQ, that means the people of Russia wants the state to ban or the country to be anti-LGBTQ because we don't want that in our societies. And that's what democracy is all about, to perform the will of the people. Okay, to the teeth, you know. But then
Is that consistent with what Russia is, the
to
democracy portion of it, or is this just one person's fear being celebrated as law
you,
and then being passed through an autocracy
I
like
think
Russia is?
I think the fact that there are people who are LGBTQ or gay in these various countries, but nothing happens to them speaks volume about that country, you know. But as of recent history, being gay became a thing in Europe as of recently, where you could walk around being gay in Europe, you know. And when Europeans, because that's what people view it as Europeans pushing their agenda again. Because in many, especially in China, Chinese people will tell you we knew of people who were gay, but it was something we didn't speak of. You went and did your thing and came back home. That was what it was. That's what everyone did. Everyone knew about it, but no one spoke of it. It wasn't illegal. It wasn't forbidden, or was it? How would I say promoted? It was just what you did. But when Europeans push the agenda of making it law, where people of the same sex can marry and so on, that's when people push anti laws against it. That's when it becomes a
So
problem.
when and who in history started that?
Started what?
because the days of Alexander the Great going forward into the Roman Empire, it was an accepted practice, right? It
Amongst,
wasn't until the Vatican and its creation and its growth and its dominion did LGBTQ gay become a sin for a
hmm
while.
hmm
Correct.
that's correct.
Okay, so I guess my point here is that the indoctrination of the Catholic Church, the Orthodox Church, Christianity, um, the interpretations of that religion towards the gay people, uh, what have you, or the Old Testament of Sodom and Gomorrah, those gospels.
Mhm.
All of it was geared to indoctrinate against LGBTQ communities because the goal of colonization was to what, repopulate other countries with their own people, with their own religion.
Mhm.
So this, I'm again, I studied the natural world. I don't
Yeah, but
partake in
but but
religions
you
too
know,
much, but
when people who study the natural, things that are natural, it's like it is something that is unspoken of. You didn't have to do much for it to exist. It
no,
just had its
anything.
place. Yeah, it had its place in society. But it's like when we look at religion being taught in school and teaching about LGBTQ, and that's where I think people deviate from the argument that this is not natural. Is that if it is natural, and the same with religion and God, and so then it isn't something you are taught. It's something you felt, and you are automatically. That you didn't have to learn about it in school because I didn't learn
Right.
about it prior to coming to Europe. So for a majority of my life, I didn't know what I knew people who did it or participated in it in Ghana, but I didn't learn it to be right or wrong. It was just something like, okay, that's what you did. You see what I mean? So that's the natural aspect of it. But the aspect in which people had to learn it, push, make it a civil right, make it law, that is what people frown upon. Because as an African, right, if you were told or someone tell you, "Oh, I'm gay," to an African, it's like you do not want to continue our lineage. It's like you became who you are because of those who came before you and their teachings, their knowledge, and so on, and it needs to be passed on. So you choosing to deviate from it, it's you saying, "Fuck you" to those who came before you, and that's how many Africans um, understand this LGBTQ movement to be that it is promoting something that takes away from our lineage, you know. But in terms of people who have embodied spirits that are gay, spirits that are straight, that is okay because that's part of what we know. But the LGBTQ movement is one thing that is unknown to them. And when it comes to the westernized label, that is why people move against it and ban it. Because when you see law in Ghana, it's called anti-LGBTQ law because it's becoming a problem in these societies.
Yeah, I'm still convinced that we've been throughout history we've been indoctrinated to shun the idea through control, through religion, through colonization, through um, you know the means of confederation. There, this is all that this anti-movement of LGBTQ has been indoctrinated into our history because before the Vatican existed, it wasn't shunned, it wasn't looked down upon, it was accepted as part of society. Um, that's kind of my. It's always been here. It's always going to be here, and to outlaw, to shun, to legislate against, to do those things is a backward step in our decolonization efforts.
Okay, let's move it this way. If we are speaking of decolonization, okay, as someone who is for the decolonization of ideologies, I would say that the ban of the LGBTQ Act is good because then it protects what we have. You know, what do you have to say about that?
Protects what we have.
Mhm.
Well, I think what we have is colonization and confederation. I
It,
think that's what we have. Do we like it? I know our people fucking hate it. It's uh, it's a system of white supremacy.
you know where I come from, right? You will find men, dressing as women and wearing or trying to be like women, but there's never been a history where someone will come to your face that you should be what I am. But it's more of like I have chosen to be this because that's what I feel most comfortable of being. I have videos of
See,
it which I can share during the Homo Festival and
that's
so on. That's what
yeah,
that
no,
what has been.
that is. I see. That's not part of what I'm understanding as they want to be who they are
Mhm.
without the fear of being prejudiced or discriminated against.
No, because
They want to
being
love the people they want to love without being prejudiced or discriminated against.
yeah, but that's what it
That's
has been.
that's that's what I see.
Yeah, but the fact that we want to make it a social norm, you know, because the way I see it, from my African lens is this: we are creating problems that shouldn't be a problem. Okay, that or we are saying that um, it is illegal or whatever it may be, where it's not true. You know, in Ghana, for example, the law is the same for straight people and gay people that
Hmm.
sodomy is forbidden, or as far as people are concerned, that anal sex is forbidden. That is the law. That's the only law that has been
Yes, but is that law one based on people or by people's religion?
based on
I'm pretty
people.
sure
That the
I'm
Ainus,
pretty sure it's
no,
it's in the Bible that
listen,
Sodom and Gomorrah were
no,
were
no.
sins and
You
these
you
things
you
needed to
you
be.
know you know in many in my culture, my tribe, I can tell you that there is a practice of lesbianism, but less of what gay is, because they felt, and these are the elders, that anal sex or having sex in the rectum is not normal. It wasn't meant to be for that such activity, and that's what it is, and that's what it has always been. Because we have words for lesbians, we don't have words for gay, or lesbian, call it progressive words if I'm gonna put it in terms where these new people will understand. But we don't have words for gay, so it's like it was like more socially accepted to be lesbian than gay.
A lot of our LGBTQ people within our own tribes were revered for their ability to see into both worlds. They were given positions of power, like medicine women, medicine men.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes even the chief. They would their because their perspectives were so broad that uh, their uh, their ideas, their knowledge, their understandings of things were revered within the tribe, not shunned.
That is true, and I have such experience of that same acknowledgement within my tribe. But the fact that it wasn't what LGBTQ movement is, because now when you tell an African LGBTQ movement, they think of this: I identify as a woman, I identify as a cat, I identify as a machine. They think of men going to women's sports. They think of all of those things. You
So
know.
I just to get back to the whole cat thing.
Hmm.
This was an idea in the Western world, in the Republican Western world,
Hmm.
that was used as a what do you call those? What's that word for gaslight? To gaslight
Hmm.
the LGBTQ community, and the notion took off. Like, oh my God, they want to be cats now. They want to be dogs now. Like it was meant to uh, disgust the person with common sense. However, it was a made up thing to exacerbate an already convoluted situation with the topic. It's not there there might be a kid, maybe two, who think this,
Mhm.
but there's no actual. He wasn't going off of any documented fact. He was making up a fact and then speaking against it. And this is something the Republicans do quite often. Now, it took off like wildfire across the world. So by the time it reached you guys, I'm sure it was like, oh my God, these Americans, they're thinking their children think they're cats or their children think they're dogs, and they're allowing this, and they're, it was meant to um, do what it did.
Yeah,
It's not real though. It's not
no,
an actual thing.
of course, when we even here in Norway, it's like they've come to a point where people are getting fed up that are removing their children from school because it's becoming ridiculous.
Well,
That
that's the point though, right?
no, no, but it's like what is the point? Are you saying that people remove their children
Like
from the school?
that is the point of the misinformation.
No,
The
no,
the the level of distrust that you all of a sudden have
no,
for
no.
something that isn't even real.
No, no, that's not that. We've come to a point where people are doing things in spaces where shouldn't exist. For example, when you went to school, at what age were you introduced to sexual education, sex ed?
Um, man, 9, 10.
Okay. Now you see them being introduced in kindergarten age, you know, and parents are saying, listen, the kids are just here to play or to be in
Yeah,
kindergarten as long as, yeah, so give them that so that when they grow up and they want to do whatever they want to, that's their choice to do. But as kids, we have to protect them and let them be kids. And I always say this, that and the girls that say, no, did your mama teach you how to suck dick? But eventually you grew up learning how to do it. So if you are what you claim to be, eventually you'll be the same thing, whether it's you are 5 years old or you're 18 years old or 20 years old, because that's who you
sure.
are. Yeah, and I think that's where it started making sense that yes, if you
See,
claim
I
it,
don't I don't have kids, so like learning what they're doing nowadays is always secondhand to me.
uh huh,
My sister has is a teacher in southern Ontario, and like she's never come across anything of the sort. She's teaching older kids, but it's not. It's different now. It's not the way it was when I went through. So I don't know. I don't know how to think about it.
yeah, for me, I think the fact that we are not letting children be children is what is problematic to me. That we have to protect the youngings and let them be young and children and innocent and so on. This is a world of ideology where we have to let them develop on their own, but we shouldn't put our adult bias. It's the same way with people who are missionaries who teach religion, right? More often than one, you will see that they would not exclude their personal agenda when they are teaching their religion. So they bring their personal experiences into it. So if I'm gonna teach children about what LGBTQ is, there's a more likelihood that I will use my personal experience in my explanation than use someone else's experience. Okay, and I think that is what is detrimental to the ideology, or what is the problematic part of the ideology, is that people always put their own agenda when they are teaching this LGBTQ um, notions or ideology. You know, because children are all inclusive. Children are inclusive from birth. I've seen videos,
Yep,
examples of children who one is black, one is white. Like, oh, look, we look alike. But as an adult, you tell them, oh, you are black, you are white. So they learn those differentiations because we, the adults, we teach them those things. But children are all
yeah.
inclusive to begin
They're
with.
blind to it.
They are
Yeah,
blind to it.
yeah.
So as I said, naturally, if you leave kids to be kids, then we can see how they evolve naturally. But so far as
So
we
then I
are
guess
here in, intervening with natural order, we are creating a problem. So then it becomes unnatural.
so I think maybe the question becomes, at what age do we start teaching these things? At what age is appropriate to start teaching these things?
And,
Because at some point they're going to need an education towards it at some point, but at what age is acceptable? Because obviously kindergarten's way out of the question. um, I would think that the times when I was taught it was like grade 9 through grade 8, maybe grade 7 probably started it. I would have been 13, 14, 15, somewhere around there.
mhm. When I was
Is
taught
that appropriate?
LGBTQ, it was taught to me as a disease, you know, back in school.
Oh, okay. See,
Hmm.
maybe that itself affected you. You know?
No, it hasn't affected my worldview. I was real shaped prior to moving to Europe, already
Okay.
packaged before I moved to Europe. So for me, I view it as what people did in Europe, as a European thing. But
Oh,
it didn't affected my perspective of it as an African, and that's why I
but
say
now
this.
with insight, would like knowing that gay people exist in Ghana.
Uh-huh.
Do you think it's any worse, or do you think that's a little bit better knowing that they exist everywhere?
No, no. The thing is, I've always been knowing that people like that existed since age 5. My
Right.
problem is the fact that Europeans are pushing a perspective of LGBT activities that is not normal to us,
Yeah.
which is
Okay, I
more
see.
detrimental to our society. You know, the
Even though their attempt to do so
mhm.
is about inclusivity, not
Yes,
not
and
indoctrination. I
their
see. I see.
attempt to include people or to be more inclusive is actually excluding people.
Yeah. I
But
see.
I've
Yeah.
always tell people, as far as I can know it, gay people have been part of our society. So you trying to push laws to accept them, you are saying that they are not accepted.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know what I
because they
mean?
aren't.
Uh,
That's the
no, no, no.
overlying issue.
But that's the thing. The
They're
thing
not
is that
accepted.
there was never a straight or a direct accepted or not accepted. It varied from where you were and which
But it's the
family.
same. It's
Yeah.
but that's the same with people of color
Yeah, let me
in
tell you one thing.
certain in certain.
When it comes to marriage and sexuality, right? In across many
Right.
African nations, right? It is depending on what family or what group of people you associate yourself with. So where you belong. So you will find people who accepted it and people who didn't accept it. So when you make it criminal law, automatically you tell people who accepted it within their tribe and so on that they are wrong. That is why for the longest of time it has been for it hasn't been even a law that accepted or prohibited it because it was left to the people to decide what felt right for them.
Yeah, or done in secret.
Yeah, but as far as I'm concerned, I know people who even listen to us, right? Being intimate is something that you did in secret, regardless whether it's straight or gay.
Sure.
Intimacy is done behind closed doors. Okay.
In Roman times, they would hold annual orgies
Uh-huh.
where things are public.
Whatever you
This is
chose,
this
yes.
is this is kind of my point, because the idea of sexuality has been manipulated and indoctrinated by whoever the colonizers are.
Who is
This
ouching?
is my point. The Vatican did what they could to erasure the idea of this culture.
Yeah,
Islam
and they are
did the very same, correct?
successful. But it's like when it comes to Muslim countries, which is one thing that I'm actually conflicted about, is this. You find yourself a nation where men have, sexual intercourse with boys.
Yep,
But then being homosexual is forbidden. But then you have
yep,
practices where
right.
young boys are dressed like females and dance like females, and then you take them home and smack them in the behind. But that is not homosexuality or gay. But being gay for them, being gay is the person who receives, not the person who gives.
It's all convoluted, and the ideas of it have been destroyed, and intentionally so. So now everyone's trying to recover something. It's the same as losing my culture
Hmm.
by the colonizers. It was taken away from everybody.
Hmm.
It was our language, our understandings of God, or the greater existence. Um, all of it was done through erasure by these institutions. So now we're all scrambling around trying to understand something that has been largely manipulated by, you know, the greater scheme of things.
So now we're getting the time where we've been on for 2 hours now. So let's push to tackle some of the questions on board. Then
Sure.
we can call it a day. So it's like the first one. It says, are current sexual norms indigenous or inherited?
Oh, and we just basically defined it already with what
Yeah.
we just finished talking about. Like it's these things were indoctrinated, and the ability to inherit our culture has been taken away from us.
Mhm. I I
We have
I
we're rediscovering it as we go.
I for one think is a mixture of both, where there are aspects of it that are indigenous, where there are aspects of it that are inherited. For example, when you speak on some Muslim countries where they practice some form of gayism, but then also prohibit being gay. You
Yep.
know, so you have the Islamic aspect that say it is forbidden, but then you have the natural, the cultural aspect of it where people like did it regardless without being and openly. Okay,
Yep.
so I think it's a mixture of both. So colonialism created anti-LGBTQ laws.
Yeah. No, I can agree with that.
Yeah, for me, when in terms of even written law, yes, all of post-colonial African countries where gayism has been now become a criminal law. These laws that originally were written by the white men who colonized them. Mind you, the law that Ghana inherited until recent history is the same playbook that Britain left. Okay, so it's now of recent history where a few things has been added or removed from it, but the majority of the law, the bulk of it, is still what the colonizers left. So now we have a situation where the same colonizers who said or who made it law or illegal to be gay are the same people who are coming to tell you now it's all right to be gay. So then it begs the question, why should we listen to you now or again? So now, how do you teach an African that, for example, for those who practice some sort of gayism and so on, that it's always been there, where you've wiped out their knowledge of such practices, where you've wiped out their knowledge of um, such knowing, you know?
Yep. It's it was intentional. They didn't want us to know about these things. They didn't want us to practice these things. So there's got to be a reason for it.
Yeah, there is a reason for it, and I think the achievement has been achieved, or the end goal has been achieved, and that's what we have it now, where more nations are pushing anti-LGBTQ law just because it is a fuck you to the former colonizers that yes, we have power to veto whatever you think. So they have made it criminal law to prevent uh, these people of existence in our society. So let's tackle
Oh,
the. I think we're gonna skip the third one because I think uh, most of us we've spoken about it.
yeah.
But can a society preserve cultural tradition while accepting diverse sexual identities?
Sorry, I got a pit bull going after my cat. Give me one
Yeah,
second.
no problem. You should get to tend to your cats and your animals because it is
Sorry,
of most.
my cats are useful. The dog is not.
The dogs are useful.
Yeah, my cats are more useful because they keep the varying levels of rodents away.
Hmm.
The snakes,
The
mostly the
dogs,
snakes.
the dogs just bark.
My dogs keep the two-legged predators away.
Mm, I I see. I see.
Yeah. Sorry. I just want to say one thing about number three.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna say that I believe I am for the LGBTQ community. However, their indoctrination of things it probably isn't the proper way to do it. Um, but I am for the freedoms to love who you want to love, fuck who you want to fuck, uh, be around the people you want to be around, and making that freedom of choice for yourself. I'm very pro for that. Could we get Hijazi up? Hijazi? He's proud against.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I had to. Let me see. I don't think he's here. Let me see. Multi guest. I invited him. Let's see.
I would want for you the same things I would want for the LGBTQ community, just to love who you want to love, be who you want to be, without fear of reprisal, prejudice, or discrimination.
Well, let me see. What I was gonna join. No, I don't think. No, no. I understand. I understand why people claim. Because when I do these lives in many regards, I don't do it because I have a fast hell-bent ideology understanding of things. I do it to learn new views.
Yeah.
That's why I do come here and speak to people of those things. Yes, I do have my how do you call it, opinions about certain things, where things that I like or do not like. But yet again, I'm always open to discuss with people who I dislike. I won't say dislike, but I disagree with, because that's how you learn new things, by speaking to people you disagree. And as far as I am concerned, the LGBTQ movement as we have it now is detrimental and will be detrimental to the society, African societies, because we don't have first and foremost the
Do you
stand.
think we are obligated to find a solution to the issue that doesn't include more erasure or uh, laws against? Do you think we are obligated to uh, find an inclusive solution to this?
I think we should find our own solutions to the problems that we face. It shouldn't be forced and jammed into our throats. And I think the reason why many nations ban these things is because of it being pushed by the. You remember last World Cup, right? Where Qatar was saying no LGBTQ flag, no beer and alcohol, right? Then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, people were speaking about human rights. But now in the United States, where you see America banning people from entering to participating in the World Cup, we don't see players protesting, you know. So then it begs the question: Why is it when it's done by white people or the agenda is pushed by Europeans, all of a sudden you are wrong for rejecting it, but when they reject the same idea, it is good, it's law, you know? And when we speak of colonization and so on, it makes people fed up, you know? So people who choose to ban it altogether just to say a fuck you to show them that we have power, I understand why people do it. I then
Okay.
understand why people do it because you see, when if Europeans were fair in the way they judged people, in the way they criticize people, then I think it would be something that everyone would say, okay, you hate us as much as you hate your own. Then people are like, okay, that's a fair game. But you see that they only push the agenda on other people, but not their own.
I see. But
You
wouldn't
know,
that be the same as well, I guess it's not gender related, it'd be more race related. I try to put everything under an equal playing field. So when you're thinking about topics like this and decolonization and the idea of inclusivity with LGBTQ communities, um, that have exist that we all have acknowledged that exist everywhere in the world. Um,
it, it,
I think we are obligated to be inclusive towards a solution that moves towards the decolonization of the mind and the things that we have been doctrinated into thinking, and removing that ideology, I believe, is a necessary step towards the decolonization of the mind.
it,
So I'm I'm for the inclusivity rights and human rights for people of the LGBTQ community is in the same manner that I am with African Americans or indigenous peoples of the world. I think it's all part and parcel of the same kind of overhanging roof.
you know, I will put it this way. I am fine. I don't think we should live in a world where people are in danger. Okay. I frown upon the violent part of fixing social problems. But it comes to a point where we should ask ourselves, how does, because that's why I ask myself, for example, how does someone being gay affect my life personally? Okay.
No, it
Uh,
doesn't.
uh, uh, yeah, but then the thing is, so far as it doesn't impact my life negatively, then I'm okay. But so far as any ideology or any doing impacts my life negatively, then we need to talk. Because now what you're doing is impacting my life negatively. You see where I'm going with this? Then I'm okay. And it goes with any ideology. So I don't um, say I'm against things or for things if it doesn't impact. So when the government is pushing new laws within the, that's why I don't vote because I don't see how voting impacts my life directly. It doesn't. I've never seen any change that has have a direct impact of my life. You know, at least as immediate impact, it doesn't happen that way. Usually, it would happen years later if there should be any. But in many cases, it doesn't. That is why I believe more in affirmative actions and where things happen, instantly, instant gratification, that we can be able to govern our way ourselves without the intervention of a state, a government, and so on. But I don't know if there's so much to be said.
It's always a convoluted topic, really. It's we may as well be talking about Israel and it'd be the same level of convolution because it's we're I don't know. Do the, I'll just leave that alone.
No, no.
That's a whole
I think the reason
that's a
why
whole other headache.
people are reluctant to join our life is this: is the way we speak, because we don't speak with aggression. We speak where people have to dig deep to answer the questions. We don't take, or I don't take your no or your yes as a final answer. It's always a why to your no, a why to your yes. That makes
Yep.
people reluctant of joining. But if I say LGBTQ blah, 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 is bad or is good, then you'll see people coming and call you a fool, you are stupid. That's the kind of
Oh, sure. Yeah.
yeah. But
Yep.
that's why I removed the rage baiting out of this live. All of a sudden, you see the live is more quiet because people are
Yep.
like, oh damn, what is your best argument against or for the LGBTQ? And then you see people are reluctant to outside of religion, you know. So
Hmm.
so yes, so that is the reason why I frame the question that way, because I have my reasons to be for or against LGBT outside of religion. That I do.
Yep. I just try to. I try not to cross the line of hypocrisy here because it's a very thin line to stand on. Um, I try to in my battles for indigenous rights in the world. Is it because legislation has been used as a tool of violence against me?
Hmm.
You know, yep, just like it has for the African American, just like it happens for other people in positions of oppression. Um, the Palestinians, they've their existence gets legislated and used as a tool. That legislation is used as a tool of violence towards them, as discrimination against them, for persecution of them. uh, these are things we should be fighting against, I would think.
I do agree.
Yeah,
I
good.
do agree.
And that's why I like you. Cheers.
Yeah.
I gotta go. I got dogs
Yeah, like
running
likewise,
running
likewise.
around here.
We've tackled the question rather quick, so I'm gonna end the live myself. So to
All right.
everyone who liked and shared and commented and participated, thank you. It's been it's been me for today. So on next Sunday, if you have a topic you want to speak of, just shoot me a message so we can speak on uh, on these topics. I wanted you to host maybe next week lives, if you can, Scott.
Want me to host?
Yeah, like you be in my position to be running the live.
Oh my god. Okay, sure. We could try that.
Yeah, yeah. So you bring a topic where you're well versed in, and then we can see, and I can structure the questions, and we can be
Oh,
live.
hey, have you did you want to tackle Alberta separatism?
Let me know, and I'll read more about it and see what I fit.
Oh, you'll be man. How am I going to moderate all this? Let me think about it.
Think about it.
I'll
Think
talk to
about
you
it, and
next
let me
week.
know. Okay, okay,
All
okay,
right. Bye
okay.
bye.
Bye bye.